Hello, it's Trekker Joe here. Take a look at this. I'm in KSP this time. I'm going to do a few things on the channel. I want to do a playthrough. I want to try to get some tutorials out. It's going to be great. Anyway, let's jump into things by taking... Oh yes. Yeah, taking a look at this one. I may have been eating Lay's or something when I was naming this. So, if anyone not familiar with KSP would probably be very confused at this. Now, take a look at this. You probably have no idea what's going on if you've never played KSP. But that is my satellite network everywhere. I had launched every one of these satellites and every little bit of debris. So yeah, just ignore that. Ignore that. It means nothing. I have multiple stations in orbit and everything. And I even have started work around Duna. I even have a stationary, well, not a stationary, but a synchronized satellite network. Obviously. I even landed a couple probes. I have this guy who just happens to be the very first probe I actually sent to Duna. And it was a success, so I'm happy. Also kind of distinctive look. I didn't even realize when I built it. Okay. I also have the KSS, which you may have seen earlier, which, if I can find it in all this debris, it isn't much right now, but it has a few craft that I may as well mention. These things are fuel haulers. And basically they have heat shields on the backs, and I can detach the heat shields and return to Kerbin. I have this thing, which is my my shuttle, actually. Well, not a shuttle, but like a heavy lander that's meant to go from go between Kerbin and land on Minmus or the moon. And obviously, if I go and I look like around the moon, I have a mining operation set up. So I have the misses here. And this is a much better looking station. Like if you look at this. Yeah, that's much better than the KSS. I don't know what I was thinking when I started work on that. This thing is a lander that is meant to transfer fuel, and it can transfer a little less than 3/4 of fuel in both tanks. And we have this fuel hauler, which is very capable of, like, I believe it is capable of refueling missions, but like from the moon, like I actually have gotten fuel haulers from orbit of the moon back to Kerbin. But I have not actually tried to rendezvous because I had replaced the Atlas because it had a few design flaws. Anyway, I don't know, is there anything else? Oh yeah, I actually want to go back to the moon and show you. Like I could go to Minmus, but there isn't actually that much. There's one station there, but it's very bare bones. I have this base here, which also is kind of bare bones. It was made before I really had access to much technology. But then we have Moat here. And this is my mining operation. Hehehe. I should probably advance the time. Let me turn the lights off. See you after I've time warped. Okay. Yeah, this thing, it's all full up on fuel at the moment, so it's not actually manufacturing anything. I have yet to land the lander and try to transfer that fuel to orbit. So yeah. But it's there, and it works very well, and it was a pain getting something of this size on the moon. I even put engine on there because I noticed it wasn't quite capable of climbing up hills when it was full. A flaw which I had fixed. And also, why is it not braked? Oh, that could have been pretty disastrous. Anyway, that's just a quick 5-minute look or so at this save. I'm not actually going to do anything in this save. We want to create our own save. There we go. I had to make a new one in order to actually fix the problems I ran into. So, it's actually a good idea to start sciencing. So this is the VAB. Well, not the VAB, the KSC. This is the VAB. This is the, I think the SVH. We have mission control. We have the tracking station. We have research and development. R&D, basically. Astronaut complex. And the administration building, which you never upgrade because you never need it. Also, you got the launch pad and runway here. And those are mostly important for upgrading later. We'll get into that later. So, the VAB, you can, like, we don't actually have that much unlocked at the moment. So, yeah. You should, if you want to read this, you can just pause it. Let's see here. So, the first thing we need to do in any KSP playthrough, you always want to take these two contracts. These are probably the two easiest contracts and they're easy money. So here, we need to make a craft that achieves these goals. We need to gather scientific data from Kerbin. We need to launch our first vessel. And we can do both just by making a little capsule here. That's literally all you'd have to do, but you may as well put some science modules, mystery goo on there, so you can get a little more science. I don't think there's anything else we need here. There isn't really anything there. This will become important later because sub-assemblies, they're awesome. So let's just name this thing the dumper something and launch it with Jebediah. I'm actually going to put Bob because we're supposed to be getting science from this mission. There's no real reason to do that, but I'm doing it anyway. So let's take crew report, keep that. Observe mystery goo, keep that. EVA report, keep that. And okay, we performed the EVA test. Okay. So that should count, right? 3. So we performed the first, performed. Yes, I'm eloquent. We have performed the first one of our experiments at home. We have gathered scientific data from Kerbin. And we didn't actually launch the vessel. Of course not. But that's not a problem, because we'll do that next time. We should immediately go for orbit. No, we shouldn't be going for orbit. We should be escaping the atmosphere first. Orbit will be the very next thing. So anyway, we should check the VAB real quick. The R&D building Geez, I'm really tongue fumbling. So there are a few things you can do here. You can research to get more science, which is probably what I'm actually going to do here. And I have the part purchasing enabled just because I like it. No real reason. Like generally when you start a game, it defaults to off. That's what I was trying to change. This will be very great for getting to orbit, although not the best technology for it, but still. So let's go back to our little stump here and change the design a little bit. I only want one of these still, and I don't need a communications equipment, not really. I will have 2 thermometers. I'm just going to put them here and here. That way I can take a reading on the ground before I launch, and then take a second reading while in like midair. Then I don't think I have any couplet. I do. Wait a second. They changed this. I'm actually kind of pleased. Yes, please. I want my decouplers, and I want them now. So let me just put a parachute on the top. And almost done. Just checking, make sure it's on when safe. So useful. You can just set it and forget it. Put on that engine. And then I'm going to actually go for the thing. Escaping the atmosphere. I will certainly be able to do it. I'm hoping this is enough. Like, I tend to fly by the seat of my pants with this game, so anything you see here, if it doesn't quite work, like, I will explain why it didn't work. That way you can kind of follow along a little better. So yeah. Also, I need to enable the extra handles, obviously. I can't believe I forgot to do that. Again, things that I forgot. Well then, I'm just going to save this back as a stump and launch it, this time with Jebediah on board. Like, I hope he's on board. No? The goal is space. Throttle's full. Hand on spacebar. Checking staging. I have already made a fatal mistake here. These stages would have fired, and then immediately after this stage would have fired. In fact, that is actually how I want it. But there's no reason for them to fire separately when they're configured like this. I'm also a little concerned that they might have too much thrust. Again, that's something I will try to fix later. Then I have this decoupler and this, and maybe to minimize time I'll put those together. And I'll do the same here. So what I'm going to do is log temperature. Make sure that I have actually, yeah, I've done the crew report. And yeah, so I'm going to put these up on the side of the screen, pin them down using the buttons. And let's launch, let's do this thing. Oh yeah, way too much acceleration. Oh god. I can't control it. Okay. Let me try to get it over to the side so that I can get a little bit of a gravity turn going. There we go. Now this should work. So let's take our readings. Yay! Science! And I'm just going to disable SAS and immediately let the parachutes loose. Like, they added a feature where it checks to see if it's safe first. So I didn't quite make it to orbit. You shouldn't really expect to get to orbit on the stock part. Like the stock mark, like the level 0 parts, they don't actually have that much oomph. Like I only got an apoapsis of 12,000, so yeah, there's not much you can do about that, unfortunately. Now, if I was willing to just spend all of my money, I probably could have made it to orbit. But I'm just not crazy enough to try that. Very nominal. Like, I guess it would be the one of our best flights. The only flight. Anyway, we got a few achievements, a few milestones. We also broke speed records. We broke several speed records with that because I didn't adjust the thrust at all. And so we also got an altitude record. Didn't actually make it that high though. So yeah, I'm just going to skip to when the parachute deploys and we land. There we go. And the speed is slow enough. Okay, see ya in the VAB. Oh, this really opened up. Okay, but we're just going to take the orbit Kerbin one. You gotta escape the atmosphere and orbit Kerbin now. No pressure, no pressure. First time we did it on this save. We should certainly visit the R&D lab. We need this engine. Has vectoring, very good. We also could use this, but we don't necessarily need it. It's just nice to have. This will give us the engine that we're never going to use because no gimbling. It's only slightly more efficient too. I don't know why you'd ever use it except when you have a lot of other gimbling engines. But this booster, really good for getting into orbit. We have this fuel tank, which is much better than the last one, much more cost efficient. And we can't get to advanced rocketry. Come on. This Terrier would have certainly pushed us into a full orbit. Okay, but I am going to get this. You get some landing legs, which aren't important now, but will be. We got radial mount chutes, which are very useful for returning to Kerbin, especially when you have a heavier capsule. I'm probably not going to use it, because we don't have Science Junior. No, I don't think we have a Science Junior. So we aren't really going to need these chutes yet. But the barometer is definitely nice to have. So I'm going to research this. And stability, while nice, not strictly needed. Radial decouplers, they're nice, but not, again, not strictly needed for first orbit. But definitely, you want to be, it's basically, you want to get the Terrier or as early as you can. You also want to get, well, not basic science, but electrics. This is really good to have. Like, you not only get actual, like, batteries and solar panels, but probe cores. And I think, yeah, and you also, like, along the way, you unlock a relay antenna, and so you can actually construct relays very early. But I'll have to get more science first. So our current goals, also, what is this? Oh. Our current goals are to escape the atmosphere and to orbit Kerbin. Now obviously if we can get to Kerbin orbit, then we will certainly escape the atmosphere. So let's make a completely new version of the stump here. And I'm going to name it something like the arrow. So I'm going to have this as a separate craft called the arrow. Just a moment while I remember where this is. Never mind. So we need our fuel tanks here. Now this stage is actually going to be very large. Also, like in addition, I want to have a heat shield here. Not strictly necessary. It's mostly just extra weight, which is certainly a problem. But it's not that big of a deal yet. I mean, with these inefficient engines, I guess they are. Never mind, I take that back. It is a bit of a problem, but I'm taking it anyway because I like to have heat shields for safety. So this, I'm actually going to change to separate staging now. So this is going to get me into orbit, hopefully. Probably not, but at least I can hope. And this is just going to be 3 times the fuel underneath. And it's going to have... No, I don't want to decouple the engine. Like, it's going to be roughly 2.5 times the size of the top stage. Like, generally when you're doing your staging, you want somewhere between 3 times and 2.5 times the amount of fuel. Honestly, I'm only going to put 2 times here because it's already getting huge and I'm pretty sure it's not going to lift off of the ground very easily. Also, going to have as many of these as I can already, and I'm going to put them on 2 places because when that way I don't go into a death spiral when I try to when I hit second stage or at any point. Hopefully that'll work. Also, worst, and I mean very worst case, I will be needing one of these. So just there, so I'm just going to put it there as a bit of insurance. That looks okay. So yeah. Also, it occurs to me, this is the first time I gather science for this, so there's going to be 2 of these. And now, so now the only thing left for me to do is realize that I still don't have the right coupling. Okay. Okay, 2 things I can do here. I can either try to launch this by itself, or I can try to have a couple thumpers. I think I'm going to risk taking the thumpers, even though I know that it's going to slow me down. It's also going to add drag, which isn't a bad thing when you don't have the stable, the better winglets. So, like, it'll mean that it'll be pulled so that the rear wants to be behind the front, which is always good. Like, no matter what, you want that. Not like if your front has more drag than your rear, then you're going to flip. And I have far too many memories of that happening. So yeah. Anyway, I'm actually going to realize I have no action groups. So if something goes wrong, Jeb is done for. Okay. Okay. Let me go through and adjust this. Okay. Well, this I can easily fix. I don't need these because I have a lot of drag. So this should be safe. Good. Don't quote me on that. Let's launch. Fingers crossed Jeb survives. Okay, I'm starting a gravity turn, and it is really keeling over. Like, I'm going to have to do this manually, too. Deb isn't level 1 yet, so I can't quite do the full gravity turn. But yeah, basically when you launch, you actually, by the time you hit around 600, you want to be on the 90. At least that's how I do it. And when you are on the, like basically, well, if you're going 50 meters a second, then you want to be on the 80. If you're going 100 meters a second, 70, and roughly, and you kind of want to continue your gravity turn until you hit the 90. I would not move past this unless you were going at least 600 meters a second, but it's not that much of a problem. Come on, I need to get to suborbit. Okay. So about 75 meters in the air. This is awesome. This is suborbit. Suborbit, it's characterized by the fact that my apoapsis, not apoapsis, but basically, I have a lot of upwards velocity, but I don't have as enough sideways velocity yet in order to actually continue falling around the planet. I know it sounds weird, but it's physics. So I'm going to get ready to stage. There we go. Now hopefully I have brought enough thrust in order to get to orbit. So what I'm doing is I'm burning slightly radial in to keep the is that radial in? Yeah, radial in order to keep the apoapsis from actually going too high and to keep my thrust directed forwards. And as you can see, I have a periapsis now, which is basically the low end. That's an important component of your orbit. How do I explain this? So your apoapsis is the highest point you go. Your periapsis is the lowest. That's kind of important to keep in mind, but then again, you don't really need to know this at all, because it's so easy just to check. But yeah, so at this point, I would continue falling around the planet, except that I would fall underneath the atmosphere, because Urban, as according to this, has the atmosphere height at 7,000. So I'm going to do that. The periapsis and apoapsis switch sides. I am now in orbit. And I had forgotten to take my barometric reading, didn't I? Yes, I have. I have. Okay. How about that? We're in a vacuum. Who knew that space would be a vacuum? I'm kind of amazed that we were able to record temperature data. So the goo seems to be clumped into a sphere. It also appears to have become brittle. Okay. I'm going to do a crew report, and I'm going to quick save this, just in case I run out of electricity or something stupid like that. It should be fine. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So now, yep. Haha. That's pretty funny. I'm not coming back anytime soon. So, escape atmosphere. We broke several records. I am happy. I'm a happy trekker. So yeah, I'm going to put this thing back on my, like, pin this to the left side of my screen so that when I actually splash down. Yeah, so check this. That's KSC. This is this Africa-like continent. The shore. That's KSC. This area, actually. You can actually kind of see the green dot there. That's because the signal is not occluding through the planet for some reason. Details. Let me time warp this, and I will prepare to deorbit. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to now see these markers. That's the radial in marker. This is my prograde marker. Prograde is just the direction you are currently moving in. That's radial out. That's basically facing away from the planet. And this is the retrograde marker. If we look at this, my ship is now positioned so that it is facing backwards relative to my movement. So I'm going to decelerate here, and I'm going to continue decelerating until I have gotten it pretty low. That's fine. What I'm going to do is, as I re-enter, I'm going to burn some of that fuel in order to keep myself like from, how do I say, from burning up an atmosphere, but also to keep myself from missing the KSC. So wish me luck. Our craft feels the gentle embrace of atmosphere. Mission Control is not optimistic that it'll survive re-entry. Nobody said it was going to be easy. I'm just burning a little bit of thrust. It looks like that we're going in with a low enough velocity that we can actually say, like that we're actually safe, basically. Okay, engines there. I'm just going to disable my SAS and drop this thing. Like, we didn't even get heating effects. What gives? Like, that never happens. It's always like a catastrophic, like heating. Like, not really explosions. I have heat shields. I always have heat shields. But definitely re-entry heating. Oh, there we go. You kind of see it, but we're already going too slow. It's not really going to last. Yeah, you guys should actually see what this looks like. Anyway, going to grab this from upper atmosphere. And it looks like we're going to land like right at the KSC. I'm so happy. Like I just guessed where I had to deorbit, and I did it. I'm so proud of myself. Anyway, I'm going to time the parachutes so that I can get even closer. Even though there isn't really much of value in here except for Jeb, so not really concerned. Just gotta keep him from dying, that's all. Which, by the way, I'd like to ask, do you think I should let the Kerbals stay dead? Like if a Kerbal dies, do I quick load? Or do I just let them stay dead? You decide. Anyway, deploying parachutes. That could have been you, Jeb. Yeah. I'll see you at the Space Center. With Jeb safe at home and 90.4 science. Like, I think this is a good point to call it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.